Welcome to the GregDean Q&A, ladies and gentlemen. We have the Dean of Comedy with us, GregDean. We already have people here eager to ask you questions about the business of comedy.
You're all welcome, and we're really glad you're here.
Well, let's get into this. Alex had an interesting question for you, Greg. Alex says, I've had trouble going from a rant or a stream of consciousness to writing a joke. What are your thoughts?
Woo, a rant. We call that rant to routine. Yeah, that's an interesting thing because first of all, you're coming up with a lot of ideas. First of all, a rant should be based on a premise. My belief is, and again, a premise is a negative opinion about a subject. So you're always starting with something you have issues with. And rants are better if you can have somebody, or you know how to have somebody ask you a lot of, ask yourself a lot of questions, so you come up with a lot of details. The Probably one of the most important things that I help people with, and that is harder for us to actually teach people, was in order to take any idea, whether it's an observation, a thought, a happening in your life, etc., and then turn it into a joke, is finding the connector. Now, that presupposes you understand my joke structure, which is those five mechanisms between setup and punch. That the connector is at the center of all jokes. It's one thing with two interpretations. And my definition of a joke includes that. Is the definition of a joke. It's not a joke unless it has one thing with two interpretations. One interpretation is expected, the other interpretation is unexpected, creating the surprise as the center of the idea of that joke. It's finding that connector, and that means your mind has to sift through a lot of information out there in the world to find something that it connects to it in some way. One of my students recently was talking about. I was talking about, like that, a girl that he saw at the class reunion had now gotten heavy, and that's what he wanted to talk about, right? He wanted to make a joke about that. Oh, I went back to this reunion, and all the girls that were these skinny cheerleaders and stuff were now big. And he was just ranting about it. And then he came back and I said, well, connector, you need to find each idea has to have a connector, he came back, said, oh, just in a short 5 years, the head cheerleader went from prom queen to Dairy Queen. He found it. Do you follow? You go through your mind. Now, one of the principles that I teach people, or an idea, I always tell people, it's now your job to know a little bit about everything.
Yeah.
So when you go and if you get an espresso, watch how they make it. Watch what they call it. What are the things called? What kind of, anything that you do when you go to the bank, listen to all of their rhetoric. Because all of those pieces of information at some point can end up being a connector to some other. Because what you have, here's what a joke is in my joke is two different ideas. Okay, two different ideas that have a connection. If they don't have a connector and a connection, that common denominator link, it's just two ideas. What makes it a joke is, and that's why joke writing is so difficult for people, because not enough people know how to think in that blended, in that connecting form of thinking. I can always tell a comedian when they talk on TV, watch Howie Mandel on America's Got Talent. When he talks, he goes, well, I can't, and he'll talk in connectors. I can't do this for you, or that, but I can, and he'll start connecting things because that's the way his mind works. Comedians' minds work by connecting disparate, different ideas, and they'll find that link between them. And then you figure out how do you set it up to have the expected interpretation? How do you pay it off by then revealing the unexpected interpretation of the same thing? That's part of the whole, I guess, art, part science, but mostly art of learning how to write jokes about anything. And it takes time and it takes a lot of practice. When I first moved to LA, I would sit down on a card table, my phone, and an Underwood typewriter and a stack of index cards, and I would write 10 jokes a day, every day. Doesn't matter how long it took. 10 jokes a day, Monday through Thursday. Then Friday, I'd clean up those jokes, type them, and put them in a joke file, which I still have hundreds and hundreds. I did that for 4 years. I go back and look at those jokes. They were awful. And I didn't know about connectors. I was doing it a little bit, but that's what's important about knowing my joke diagram. Those mechanisms will tell you what exactly you need to have in order to take a thought and make sure it's a joke. Okay, and that's what my joke diagram does. It teaches you what exactly a joke is and how they work. Once you understand those things, it's a lot easier to take a thought, an opinion, a happening, an observation, whatever it is, and turn it into joke structure.